Bloody Mary is one of my favorite cocktails. It's also a cocktail beloved the world over. Today, I'm going to teach you how to make one from scratch. We're going to start by exploring its roots as the classic cocktail and then make a few variations on it. Hey guys, how's it going? Matt from Foul Ball Food and Drink here. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you're doing well. I'm doing phenomenally. Thank you so very much. How could I not be doing good? I got 3 Bloody Marys to try here. Ain't it fun? So I have prepared this video as a lesson plan for not only you, but also myself, as I've never made a Bloody Mary from scratch that I was ever really satisfied with. So what I've done here is I've made 3 different variations on the classic cocktail, and each has its own interpretation, but they're all based on the same base recipe. Now, this one here is the most classic of all the Bloody Marys. This is the one that you'll find it on liquor.com's website. This is the one that you will find in Death & Co.'s recipe book. This is the classic Bloody Mary. It's really not that much to it, to be completely honest. It's tomato juice, Worcestershire, Tabasco sauce, lemon juice, lime juice, salt, pepper, and I think that's it. And booze. That's all there is. Today I'm using tequila. So these are technically Bloody Marias, not Bloody Marys, but that's because I prefer tequila to vodka almost entirely. However, vodka's got its place. But let's try the first one. Let's try the classic and see how we like it. That's refreshing. That's refreshing. It's a little caustic. I think there's a lot of horseradish in this particular recipe. I noticed that as I was sampling it before the video. It's a little more burny than I would like, a little bit too peppery.
They taste like burning.
And I think that's gonna come into play when I make my variation, my adjustments on this recipe, because I didn't love how, I think it's a little much. I wanted to have some spice, have some pepper, but I want it to smack too. I want it to really satisfy my palate. And this is good, but it's a little hot. It is good though. I made this last night and let it sit so that all the flavors would really congeal and the expression would come out strong. Because a lot of times, especially with salt, if you just make a Bloody Mary and then put salt in it, you might not get that unctuous kind of satisfying salt experience that you want from a Bloody Mary. But if you let it sit, it really will coalesce and come together in a way that's pretty tasty. This is not bad. I'm not saying this is worthless. It's just not perfect for me. Cocktail onion. Most underused garnish in my opinion. I love the cocktail onion. No one else does. Okay, so this is my variation. Now, I typically, what I do when I make a Bloody Mary is I just buy Zing Zang, the Bloody Mary mix, and then I'll add different things to it. Maybe it's a little bit of Worcestershire, some pickle brine. That's my favorite addition. Whatever I'm feeling. So this is kind of my variation on the classic. What I've done, instead of taking tomato juice, is I use H-E-B spicy vegetable juice. That's trying to give it a little bit more spice in the base. I tried to find some organic, unsalted tomato juice. Kind of hard to come by at H-E-B. I imagine if I went to Whole Foods, I probably could procure it, find it on Amazon maybe, but I was working with what I had. And in this recipe, I took the spicy vegetable juice, I put the horseradish and the Worcestershire. Instead of Tabasco, I used Texas Pete. Wanted to make this a little bit more Texas friendly. Then I did put the spicy pickle brine in this, lemon juice and lime juice, salt, pepper, also put some smoked paprika in here, which gives it a really interesting smoky characteristic. If you're like me and you enjoy mezcal or cigars and you scotch, you like that smoky flavor, you might enjoy this variation. The other thing I'm going to do is, just for fun, I'm going to do a float with a pickle juice sour beer. There is a brewery called Martin House that makes a best made Texas brand pickle sour. They make a spicy and then a regular dill. Now, I couldn't find that at the H-E-B that I went to. I know it's accessible, but I couldn't find it. So I went with this other one. This is Puro Pisco Pickles. It's a slightly spicy. This is from San Antonio. It says kettle soured pickle juice Goza beer. Goza is a sour with salt. I'm not a huge sour fan, but if I was going to drink a sour, typically it would be a Goza. So I'm going to float a little bit of that on top of this. Give this a nice stir. Just a little bit, just to top it off. Kind of give it like a little michelada edge, a little bit of sour in there, and just see how this comes together. So let me try this one. That's pretty damn good. That's way more refreshing than the other one. I think I use less horseradish in this recipe too, because when I was building this one, I was like, that seems like a lot. So I think I toned it down for this recipe to kind of avoid that peppery flavor. Now I did just get a mouthful of this spice, of this beer, of this sour beer. So that might be what I'm tasting. So I'm gonna mix it up just to make sure I'm not being blinded by that. Get a real sip. This one's pretty peppery too, but it's not bad. I actually really enjoy this. It's more refreshing. It's more delicate. It's still probably a little bit too much citrus or like that kind of acid, because it's a little bit much. It's a little bit caustic. It's still a little high on acid beyond where I find it enjoyable. The other thing is I couldn't find any fresh horseradish, not even at Whole Foods. I looked all over. There was none near me, so I did use prepared horseradish, which a lot of recipes call for fresh, but what are you gonna do? If you don't have it, you don't have it. The other thing I like about this one is the paprika is really coming out very distinctly, and I like that. I use smoked paprika, and I think that smoky flavor is really interesting, and it's coming together in this one. Yeah, that is pretty good. That is pretty good. I think if there's anything I would change about this, I would lower the pepper and maybe up maybe some of the sweetness. Maybe starting with this wasn't the best decision. Maybe I should have just gone with regular tomato or vegetable juice, because it doesn't have a lot of that satisfying sugar that a good bloody has. But I still like this one. So far, that's the better of the two. And this third one here is the most exciting to me. Now, this is the one that I think would be more traditional for me, more classic. I'd probably do it more often. This one requires a little bit more labor, a little bit more equipment, but I think ultimately it might be worth it. So the fundamental difference that I did with this one was I didn't use the spicy vegetable juice and I didn't use the classic vegetable juice. What I did was I juiced my own tomatoes for this. I have a Breville juicer, which I'm not crazy about. It's not a cold press type juicing situation, so there's a lot of waste, and I really don't like having all that waste. I suppose I could have saved the tomatoes and made like a tomato paste out of it, but you basically just end up throwing out so much. So it's, once again, kind of a luxurious thing, not something you would do all the time. But this one, I did make with fresh tomato juice. I think is why it's so much more pink, right? Especially when you compare it to the other two that are this kind of vivid red. I used a bunch of Roma tomatoes that I found at H-E-B, pretty reasonably priced. I didn't want to blow a lot of money if I was just going to throw out most of the tomato. The other thing about tomato juice is it separates pretty significantly. That's why I'm stirring this one. But so I did a few other things with this. What I did was I used the fresh tomatoes, horseradish, Worcestershire, but less of both. I also used a Texas sriracha sauce in this one instead of Texas Pete or Tabasco like I did for this one. I used the lemon juice, lime juice, but I also used some brine from the kimchi. This is another Texas kimchi brand. This is from San Antonio, Banyan Foods. Excellent kimchi. This is some of the best kimchi I've ever had, bar none. I used to go to a farmer's market in Los Angeles. I had really good kimchi, but it needed a little bit of salt. Not this one. Banyan Foods, classic kimchi, fire. Find that at H-E-B if you're curious. So I did that. So what I did was a little bit of this kimchi brine, and I did a pepperoncini brine to kind of give it a little bit of a more dynamic flavor. So this one's probably the most exotic. Other than that, I put a little bit of garlic salt and ginger powder in this one. So this one is really dynamic, exciting, exotic, really like a special occasion. Maybe if you're having like some kind of a bridal shower or like a wedding party, something you really want to celebrate and you're drinking earlier in the day, this might be the one you want to go with. Let's try it. That is really good. That is really, really good. That's delicious. That is outstanding, actually. I don't mean to toot my own horn, but that is really, really hitting on all angles. It's so refreshing because of the freshness of the tomato juice. Obviously, you can't get fresher than this. Although it will preserve because of the brines and all the salt. It will hold longer than just purely fresh juice, but man, this is good. That is so satisfying. It has that acidic satisfaction. I think that is really, really nice. It's quenching my thirst, but you also do get the spice and the salt in there that you so enjoy with a Bloody Mary. This is by far my favorite of all of them. I didn't think I was gonna like this one as much. I've tried to make fresh tomato Bloody Marys before, and I didn't really love it. Maybe I'll make a separate video on just exactly how to make this one, because it is really, to me, head and shoulders above these other two, which these are both good, but this one is like, if I went to a restaurant and spent $15 on this, I would be like, worth it. That is killer. That is killer. Man, I'm sorry you can't enjoy this with me. I wish you could. You'd have a great time. So I think it's pretty clear which one I prefer. It's not quite how I thought this video was going to go. I thought I was going to try all three, not like any of them necessarily, tweak and come back. However, I actually think they're all equally good. And coincidentally, I enjoy them in ascending order. And that worked out perfectly. I kind of had a feeling I would like this one and this one more, but I didn't really think it would be this distinct. This one is the one. And I think next video I'm going to do is I'm going to teach you how to make this one step by step. It's not that complicated. You can take care of it in a half hour to an hour, including cleanup, which is not much. And if you want to make a picture of it, put it in the fridge for the next morning with you and whomever, this is a really good, fun Bloody Mary cocktail. That's maybe one of the best Bloody Marys I've ever had, and it does sound a bit self-congratulatory to say that my own Bloody Mary is the best I ever had, but I'm not lying. That was incredible. All those flavors came together so well overnight with the kimchi brine and the ginger. It was all really subtle, nothing too much, and man, I cannot wait to finish drinking this. Unfortunately, without all of you. But thank you so much for watching this video on how to make a good Bloody Mary at home. Like I said, the next video I'll follow up with will be how to exactly make this Bloody Mary so that you can have the specs detail by detail and make as much of it as you like at home. I really appreciate you all watching this video. Please leave a comment below if you have any questions or you want to get in contact with me about any of this. Please press like, subscribe for more content. I've got a lot more stuff coming out. Wine reviews from HEB, some local beer reviews, stuff like that. Yeah, stay tuned for all the content coming out of Foul Ball Food and Drink. All right, you have a great day.